Hey guys, good morning. So sorry I couldn't be with you today, but we're going to keep on rolling with some practice and with some new information. So I need you to find your properties of real numbers notes. We filled these out together in class on Tuesday. So I need you to find this. If you were absent on Tuesday, then this is in folder number 24 of the absent work. Only if you were absent. If you are in school, you need to find your own notes because they are already filled out for you. If you're absent, then you're going to need to find a partner to get all of this information filled in. But I want you guys to take a look at the back. We're going to look at the back of this today. And this is what your assignment is going to be this morning. So we need to look at the directions first. It says use... All right, sorry about that. The directions say use a highlighter to highlight anything in the second step that is different from the first step. So we are highlighting anything in the second step that is different from the first step. Then use the highlighted information to determine which property justifies the work between the two steps. And you have a few options. You have the associative property of addition, the commutative property of addition, the addition property of equality, the distributive property, and the multiplication property of equality. Now, when you guys are deciding these, all of these words are important. You can't just have, it's the associative property, or it's a property of equality. You have to really have all of these words. They're all saying something. It's saying that we're associating, so we're grouping, and we're adding when we're doing this. Or we're switching something around for the commutative property, and we're adding. Or we're adding something to both sides of the equation. Distributing, that's when we multiply inside the parentheses, and the multiplication property of equality says that we're multiplying something on both sides. And if you don't remember these properties, well, you guys should have on the front, all of these properties are listed. So you've got a list, what's happening, and then some examples. So I'm also going to suggest that we cross some things out as we're looking through these problems. I'll show you what I mean. Let's take a look at number 1. I'm going to zoom in real close on just number 1. So here on the top we have 3x plus the quantity of 7x minus 5 equals negative 2x plus 4. So that was step 1. In step 2, it says the quantity of 7x minus 5 plus 3x equals negative 2x plus 4. So the first thing I'm going to suggest that you guys do is cross out anything that is the same between steps 1 and step 2. So if I just look on this side of the equation, everything over here looks identical. I'm going to cross this stuff out. That's not anything that we need to discover which property is being used. Well, then I can look at this side of the equation. It doesn't look identical, so I need to figure out what's happened. We had 3x plus 7x minus 5, and then we had 7x minus 5 plus 3x. So it looks like these parentheses have changed a little bit. There's addition going on, okay, but here's the different thing. These guys right here, they're not in the same order. Okay? None of this is in the same order. Something happened. And so a lot of people say, oh, it's the parentheses, this must be the associative property because it's got to do with parentheses. But notice that in the associative property, it's two different things in the parentheses. We have the same things in parentheses. Really what happened is they just switched places. They switched order. So what we actually see happening here is the commutative property of addition. Again, super important that you have all of this written down. Commutative property means that they switched. Addition means that when they switched, they were adding together. We could have had multiplication where these guys would have been multiplying together, but they are adding. Okay? They're adding together. So that's the commutative property of addition. Let's look at another one and see, number 2, what was alike and what was different. So, all right, so step 1 says x divided by 4 equals negative 5. And then in step 2, we see 4 times x divided by 4 equals negative 5 times 4. So I want to cross out anything in the first and second steps that looks like it's kind of in the same order. And so I start here with an x divided by 4. Now, that's not the first thing in my step 2, but it is what's right next to the equal sign. So I'm going to cross out these two things. They're both right next to the equal sign. And so is negative 5. So really, I'm crossing out all of step 1 and the middle part of step 2. What I'm left with is times 4 on one side and times 4 on the other side. So already it said times 4. I know I've got something to do with multiplication. So it couldn't be associative, it couldn't be commutative, probably isn't going to be addition since I'm multiplying. It could be distributive. We multiply in the distribution property, and we also multiply in the multiplication property of equality. Well, a couple things that I know. I know distribution has to have parentheses. All right, distribution has something outside of the parentheses, and it's multiplying inside parentheses. That doesn't look like that's exactly what's happening here. Instead, it looks like we are multiplying by 4 on both sides. Oh, you know what that looks like? It looks like the multiplication property of equality, where we're multiplying both sides by the same thing. Multiplying both sides by the same thing. So this is the multiplication property of equality. I want you guys to notice a few things about the properties that you're about to look at. When you are deciding between associative, commutative, the equality properties, or the distributive properties, a couple things are interesting to notice. And that is that the associative property, the commutative property, and the distributive property, okay, put a star next to them, they usually only happen to one side of an equation. Okay, if we look over here, we talked about the commutative property. That only happened to one side of the equation. We crossed out the entire other side of the equation. The addition property of equality and the multiplication property of equality, those are happening on both sides of the equation, just like number 2. The multiplication property happened to both sides. So this happens to both sides of the equation. So what your job is going to be for the rest of class is to complete numbers 3 through 9 on this practice. Now you will be doing this independently. And no, that doesn't mean like sit next to a partner and what you get. No, you're really doing this independently. Now your substitute has a key. So when you feel like you are finished, you may ask her to check it. And she will tell you if you need to correct any. Do any corrections that she has for you, and the rest of the period will be yours. Here's what I mean by yours. First thing you need to do is check and make sure that you don't have any missing algebra assignments. If you are missing a classwork, if you are missing any homework, that is what you are doing for the rest of the period. This is a gift. We don't usually let you work on missing assignments in class. If you have no missing assignments, and by the way, you can check that using Infinite Campus, but you're really only checking algebra, and you really only have about 5 minutes to check that. If you are done with all of your missing assignments, you've turned them in, or you don't have any missing assignments at all, you may use a laptop and work on your J labs. Remember, those are due next Tuesday. You need to do 10 questions from each strand and email the ones that you want to Miss Vaughn. All right, that is your assignment for the rest of class, guys. I wish you good luck. I hope to be back by the end of class, but if I am not, you have your instructions and your substitute can help you as well. Have a good day, guys. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Also, if you are a student who does not have the properties of real numbers notes, I'm going to leave those up here for you as well. So your substitute can pause this video. You'll have the examples 1 and 2 on the top. And then down at the bottom, you can, maybe if I can get everything on here, you can copy down the rest of these notes, or you may borrow them from a classmate. All right, guys. See you soon.